Bitcoin in all-time high mode, hitting a record this morning and flirting with another one, perhaps before the end of the day. This is All About Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B, for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation. All Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee, and this morning I had a chance to speak to SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce on CoinDesk TV's First Mover, who says increased interest in Bitcoin by corporates is further evidence that the market is ready for Bitcoin exchange-traded products. Have a listen.
I certainly am watching that trend, and it's one that I feel bolsters my position that I gave several years ago, which is that we're ready for an exchange-traded product, and so I would like to see an exchange-traded product move forward. Of course, the facts and circumstances matter, but I think people are looking for ways through our regulated securities markets to access Bitcoin. And so if we don't give them the natural way, which I think would be an exchange-traded product, they're going to look for other ways to do it. They're over-the-counter products now that exist, so people do have ways to access it, but those might not be the most direct and most cost-effective ways.
Peirce also pushed back against Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's comments yesterday that cryptocurrencies are a dangerous rail for terrorist financing, casting doubt on the size of the alleged problem and insisting there is no way to ban Bitcoin outright. Bitcoin jumping to a new record high Thursday morning at $48,297. The XBX Bitcoin price trading right now at $47,714. So it's coming down a bit from those record highs, but you never know. I mean, it was just over $48,000 just moments ago, so it could go back. And that's according to TradeBlock data. The XBX has been the most reliable Bitcoin reference price for institutions since 2014, with billions in assets under management benchmarked against it. So Bitcoin is rising amid a slew of big announcements. MasterCard confirming a story CoinDesk broke Wednesday, revealing the credit card giant will let merchants accept crypto payments this year. Consumers will be able to transact with digital currencies directly on their network. Meanwhile, America's oldest bank, BNY Mellon, will begin offering Bitcoin services by rolling out a new digital custody unit later this year, and Amazon is preparing to launch a digital currency project in Mexico, according to recent job postings. And joining me now to discuss the BTC market surge is Quantum Economics founder and CEO Mati Greenspan in Tel Aviv. Welcome, Mati.
Thanks a lot for having me.
All right, so every day we're hearing from corporations and banks investing or implementing Bitcoin. I imagine that has something to do with the price surge we're seeing right now. What's your perspective?
Well, yeah, I mean, the price surge is an effect of that more than anything. What's happening at the moment is that the entire world is kind of coming to this great realization, something that us who have been in the industry for a while already knew, but it's now becoming quite clear to everyone that the old model, the traditional banking model, is quite unsustainable, and this idea of continuously printing money will eventually lead to some kind of backlash. And Bitcoin is an excellent hedge to that backlash, and this is why everybody all of a sudden is waking up to it.
What kind of charts, what kind of metrics are you looking at tracking the near-term price? For instance, on CoinDesk, at least we saw that exchange wallets, so we're seeing fewer coins on exchanges. What kind of metrics stick out to you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, fewer coins on exchanges would definitely indicate that people are looking to hold for the long term and rather than trading them. But obviously, there is a lot of leverage inside of the crypto ecosystem. What I would say is maybe the volumes, I think, are really interesting metric to watch. Right now, I'm looking at Messari data, who tracks the real volumes. Obviously, as we know in the crypto space, there's a lot of wash trading, meaning that there's exchanges who will fake their volumes. So Messari does a pretty good job of weeding that out. And we can see that the volumes have been kind of on a decline the last few days. So mid-January, that's where we hit an all-time peak which was around $27 billion, something like this. And if we zoom out on the chart, of course, we can see the 2017 bubble back here. And, the volumes didn't even get anywhere near as high. So we're in a completely different world these days. With that said, this last run, now we're testing 50K. I don't know if we'll be able to puncture it. I don't know if we have enough momentum right now to puncture such a big psychological barrier without having some sort of a retracement first. But, as we know, the charts are always the history and not the future. So we can't always see what's going to happen next, but we can kind of get an indication anyways.
What correlations are you seeing between the crypto markets and other markets? The stock market is down today. Bitcoin's hitting record high, but usually we see Bitcoin correlated with a stock market rally.
Yeah, that's right. And the longer the time frame that you look at, usually the more correlation you have. So, for example, in 2017, we know was a fantastic year for both stocks and for cryptocurrencies. And then 2018, as the Federal Reserve kind of took back the money and was not doing as much active money printing, both crypto and traditional markets suffered. And then 2019, the Fed recommitted to, they pledged to come back in with the free money. And then, of course, 2020, everything went berserk. And we all know, I can pull up the chart of the money supply, which is just really ridiculous. Right now, we're looking at correlations between the stock market here in red and the dollar in blue, and then Bitcoin's correlation with gold. This correlation metric comes from Coinmetrics and is measured from -1 to +1. So -1 would be like a complete reverse correlation, and +1 would be a complete exact correlation. So if Bitcoin goes up 10%, the stock market goes up 10%.
So you're really seeing Federal Reserve monetary policy affecting things.
Oh, yeah. My team has done an entire report on how quantitative easing affects Bitcoin and how it works. Basically, whenever the Fed prints out free money, a lot of that goes into the stock market, but some of it goes into crypto. And these days, with all of the institutional adoption that we've been seeing, there is definitely that is the way it works. Basically, when the Fed prints out free money, and we can show the money supply right here, which basically just went berserk 2020. And you can see that, it's been like slowly climbing up, but then all of a sudden, and there's been estimates that, some 30% or 40% of all dollars in circulation were minted just within the last year. So people have every right, and it makes sense to be concerned about coming inflation. Not maybe right now while everything's on lockdown, because when there isn't any economic activity, it's tough to see inflation. But with the amount of money that's been pumped into the system, we can only imagine what's going to happen once the economy gets back on track. Now that we have vaccinations and people are going to start flying again, people go out to the malls and things like that, or whatever we see life coming back to normal, it is very likely that we'll see very heavy amounts of inflation, and that's really why people turn to Bitcoin, is because of that digital scarcity, because it's a hard asset that is irreplicable, and despite the awesome demand, there will never be more supply that comes on.
Well, you see that with the corporations. They see a declining dollar, they see inflation, they're trying to figure out what to do with their cash reserves, and so lo and behold, we have Tesla, MicroStrategy before that, and other public companies considering putting their cash into Bitcoin. Just want to touch upon Commissioner Hester Peirce of the SEC, her comment earlier. I don't know if you heard it, but she said that perhaps the United States is ready for a Bitcoin exchange-traded products. In Israel, is that already offered? I wonder what your thoughts are on that, because I know you guys are ahead of the curve.
Right. We usually are. Unfortunately, the banking sector in Israel is similar kind of to what the dynamic that's in Australia right now, where The government is fine with it. The government is all on board. They don't mind, and and they're ready for making these type of regulations. But it's really the banking sector that is afraid, and they basically set up a banking blockade. So it's very difficult to move money in and out of crypto in Israel. But that'll change over time, and as we see now that MasterCard and PayPal and Visa are completely on board, these banks are now realizing, this is very similar to what happened in the early days of the internet, right? Where incumbent institutions said, hey, what do we need to be online for, right? And they even started to fear, displacement from being online. But what we saw then is that the companies who embraced the internet first, they were really ahead of the curve, and they are the ones who managed to grab the market share. And it's going to be the same thing with the Internet of Value as well. I mean, the entire the digital asset space doesn't really stop at Bitcoin. There's so much innovation that's happening on top of Bitcoin and on top of Ethereum that it's really going to be difficult for these banks to stay alive if they don't embrace that new technology. So very likely, we're talking with them, obviously, and they're coming around.
All right. Maddie, thank you for your insights and an update on what's going on in Israel.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, that was Quantum Economics founder and CEO Maddie Greenspan in Tel Aviv. Coming up, how to monetize your video gaming addiction with Bitcoin. Welcome back. Video gamers spend an average of 6 hours and 20 minutes each week playing video games, according to State of Online Gaming 2020, a research report that they've done. So you could say gamers are wasting their time, but what if they could earn Bitcoin from their hobbies? Joining me now to discuss is CoinDesk tech reporter Colin Harper in Denver, Colorado. Welcome, Colin.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. Okay, so explain to me how this works.
Yeah, so what you're starting to see in one of Bitcoin's sub-industries in the Lightning Network industry is the gaming developers taking this layer 2 technology and bolting it on top of games that either exist already or building games from scratch and incorporating Lightning Network. And for those listeners who don't know, the Lightning Network is a layer 2 technology for Bitcoin. That means that it works in conjunction with Bitcoin, but is built on top of it and uses a different technical architecture. And it facilitates quick and near feeless payments. So for things like esports and online gaming, something like Bitcoin is being approached as kind of, a native currency layer for settling out payments on some of these games, whether that be a tournament winning or an in-game reward.
All right, and so how much can people earn on these platforms? And I mean, is it serious money? How does that work? And how is it different from how things operate right now?
Yeah, so there are a handful of games that are trying to use Lightning Network for this. I got one up on the screen right now, a Mario Kart clone built by Zebedee.io. And as you can see, a little dude zooming around there,
That's
picking
fun.
up coins. And yeah, right. And so, the basic idea here with a lot of these games is usually it's just your basic, prize pool payout, right? You'll join a game. There will be a prize pool of maybe say 10,000 satoshis, which is roughly like $5. Or maybe there will be more like 100,000 satoshis, which is roughly $50. And so what will happen is based on your ranking in one of these games, you'll get paid out a certain amount of Lightning Network Bitcoin for that. Other games like Bitcoin Bounce and Saratobi, which are mobile games, you can earn in-game tips from the game. Like in Saratobi, you're a little monkey and you fly and you collect little coins in the game, and you can get 10 Satoshis from that, which is like not even a cent, right? So to answer your question, Christine, some of these, the ability to monetize, it's still a small amount of money that these gamers will be making. But one of the biggest, and those are usually in the ones that are kind of from the ground up, right? These are original games from these gaming studios. But Zebedee just came out with a plugin called Infuse that it can be used with Counter-Strike Go, which is probably one of the, it might be the most popular online shooter, 25 million active monthly players. And with Infuse, players can join servers that have prize pools up to 160,000 Satoshis. And so for that, if you're a good Counter-Strike Go player, 160,000 Satoshis split between, a 16-person lobby, if you end up getting the majority of the points in that game, you might end up making 100,000 Satoshis, which is $50. So, not bad for an afternoon's playing, right?
Well, especially if you're just a kid and you can play video games and earn money, and that's your introduction to the financial system and how to earn. I mean, it's crazy. And, looking at this, and I see other stories that virtual properties are being sold for $1.5 million on the blockchain game Axie Infinity. It just becomes more real, that these virtual worlds, we can spend time in them, we can earn money in them, we can buy virtual property in them. I'm wondering, what kind of world are we promoting here?
So one of the things that I really like about this, and I didn't coin this, but one of the, I don't think the CEO of this company coined it either, but he used it in an interview with me. It's what Lightning allows you to do and what Bitcoin allows you to do is it's the democratization of monetization. For the longest time, since esports have kind of become a thing, right? And now you have kids who grew up playing, Call of Duty or Fortnite, and now they're getting paid millions of dollars to do it. That's really great for those guys. Most gamers can't do that, right? That's like the, 0.001% of the top percentile of gamers who are able to monetize their hobby this way, right? And, sure, they go on and they play for these big esports tournaments and they make millions of dollars. But most people can't do that. And one of the great things about these Bitcoin payments is that as long as people are playing the game, people can earn, right? Because either they're going to stake the Bitcoin themselves, or one of the cool things too is a lot of these games pay out sponsorship money. So or advertisement revenue. So what they're doing is they're taking a chunk of that marketing revenue or a chunk of their marketing budget, and they're allocating it towards these in-game rewards. And then that's incentivizing players to come back and play more. And so it's kind of cool. It's creating alternative revenue models that give players the ability to actually earn back something of what they're giving into the game. So I think one of the things that I'm really excited to see, Infuse is working on making servers for other games. Like they're polling people right now, but they're working on Call of Duty, maybe Fortnite, Minecraft. So I think, as long as the market says, hey, yeah, we want to get paid Bitcoin rewards for playing these games, I think you're going to start seeing a lot of really cool innovation, changing how not just players monetize their time, but also how developers engage and interact with those players in game.
Fascinating world out there. A little scary sometimes, but pretty awesome, no less. All right, thank you for your time, Colin.
Thanks, Christine. Appreciate it.
All right, that was CoinDesk tech reporter Colin Harper in Denver. Time now for the chart of the day. A look at what the Bitcoin options market is predicting BTC price to be worth by the end of the year, according to Skew data. Traders are pricing 12% odds that Bitcoin will rise above $100,000 by the end of this year, 20% odds it will break $70,000, and over 70% odds it will fall below $20,000. But option probabilities merely represent traders' expectations, which can often be wrong. All right, that's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines, with special guests former CFTC Chairman Chris Giancarlo and Binance US CEO Catherine Coley. You're watching CoinDesk TV.